Hi, everyone. This is Sue Erickson, Hub Director for Open Learning 19. And I'm very pleased to bring you this interview today with Christine Moskell, who is Instructional Designer for Connected Learning at Colgate University. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Sue. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Great.
Great. So Christine and I actually met virtually in Open Learning 18. And then we met face-to-face at the Connected Learning Summit this past summer. So that was really exciting to meet face-to-face after having connected through Open Learning. So Christine, one of the questions I have for you is, what is an instructional designer for connected learning?
So I'm going to break that into two pieces first. So as far as an instructional designer, here at Colgate, I'm one of 4 instructional designers. I work in ITS. There's a group within, Information Technology Services here called the Learning and Applied Innovation Group. And so largely our group we work with faculty and students exploring and experimenting with and integrating digital tools to enhance teaching and learning. So again, I'm one of 4 instructional designers, and we each have a different flavor of instructional design, or a flavor of pedagogy, I guess. So we have a colleague who does maker education, 3D printing, scanning, drones. I have a colleague who does digital media, like video, digital storytelling, and podcast projects. Another colleague focuses on learning management systems or learning platforms like Moodle and Google Classroom. And then I'm the newest instructional designer to the team with my focus on connected learning. So here at Colgate, I define connected learning as when I talk to faculty around what that is, which I actually don't do as often as I would like, and we can talk about that perhaps. But I frame it as exploring how we can harness the power of the web to enhance teaching and learning. But I also forgot to mention here at Colgate University, we do not have any online courses. I know instructional design is people often think about online course design, but here at Colgate, everything is face-to-face. It's a small, elite liberal arts institution, so sometimes it feels strange to have the title instructional designer, but we really kind of do our own thing here at Colgate because we are not in the business of designing online courses. So
sounds like you're really part of a team.
Yes, yeah.
So how did you come to this position?
In an interesting way, I think, in an untraditional way, perhaps. So I didn't even know instructional design was a field or a thing until about 1.5 years ago. And I've been in this position a year. So I'm pretty new to the position. But I started out here at Colgate as a lecturer, which is what Colgate calls their adjunct professors. So I have a PhD in natural resource management from Cornell University, and I came to Colgate because my husband got the tenure track job. So I started off as a lecturer. I was teaching a course about environmental activism, and I loved teaching, but life as an adjunct was really challenging on multiple levels. So I really didn't want to do that anymore and was really doing some soul searching around what I wanted to do. And I realized I really care about teaching and learning. And I discovered that I could still support that without being a professor. So I was checking the Colgate's job description or job board like every day, and I discovered the position that I now got, instructional designer for connected learning. And it was kind of a big aha moment for me because I had collaborated with the instructional designers who are now my colleagues. I collaborated with them to help improve my class using digital tools and for teaching and learning. And so I realized I had really dabbled in teaching with technology, but I just never really realized that was a field or a role or a practice. So I saw that job announcement and said I could do that. So I applied, and here I am in the position. So like I said, I've been in the position about 1 year, but I've been at Colgate for 3 years. So
that's really interesting that you had actually kind of used the services of your coworkers before you were in that environment yourself.
Right. And that I had first met them at our new faculty orientation here at Colgate. They had like 20 minutes to sell themselves on this type of work that get done. And actually forget, here at Colgate, we have student evaluations of teaching. And I think I first reached out to the group because I didn't know how to interpret those student evaluations of teaching. And my supervisor, Jeff Nugent, is the director of our group here in ITS, but he also is the associate director of our Center for Teaching and Learning. So we often collaborate between the two, but I think I first reached out to him because I needed help with student evaluations of teaching. But then later on, there were things I could do to improve my teaching that integrated digital tools, for example. So
nice.
It was sort of this circular, relationship of me working with them and then realizing, I could be one of you.
So ITS is under the umbrella of teaching and learning, is that right?
It's a complicated question right now.
Okay.
ITS, we don't have a CIO at the moment. Our CIO had been a cabinet level vice president position, but our new CIO, who we're currently searching for, will report to the provost. So ITS will now fall within more closely, hopefully, with the academic mission here at Colgate.
So why do you think it's important to have an instructional designer who has an emphasis on connected learning?
Connected learning really embraces the notion that learning happens in a lot of different spaces in today's age. I think it's important that an instructional designer who focuses on connected learning can really help faculty and students to, one, acknowledge that learning that a lot of the things we do on the web is learning. Mm-hmm. So I think it's important for, one, being able to raise awareness about that, but then help faculty navigate, okay, well, if searching on the internet for this thing that I'm interested in counts as learning, then how can we design activities and integrate that into a course to really amplify the discovery process that can happen for students in a college course? Is really just acknowledging and starting conversations around learning happens in a lot of places beyond just the four walls of a classroom on a college campus.
Can you just give us some examples of how you've fostered connected learning in a course?
I would say I have not done that yet. I have definitely, I actually said this in my job interview, but I have never, I don't think I've ever mentioned the term connected learning to a faculty member here at Colgate. One, because I've found that there's been actually a lot of hesitation here at Colgate around teaching with technology, period. So to come into a conversation with a faculty member and start talking about connected learning would just not be effective here. So a lot of my work has really been, even in this past year, has been trying to identify the foundation for connected learning here at Colgate. So really I feel like I've been on a year-long listening tour of just trying to meet with faculty and just talk to them about getting the lay of the land of issues that they face in their teaching, issues that they face in their classroom, and just always trying to figure out, well, where might I be able to plug in connected learning into that. Some of the things that I have been working with faculty on is using some tools for connected learning, but again, they're not framed as connected learning. They're really just entry points to build trust around working in a course with faculty so that maybe later on I can start talking about the larger pedagogy. So I've been working on some of these tools that I first encountered in open learning would be WordPress, setting up I worked with a couple of classes where either students are designing their own WordPress sites as kind of the analog to a written research paper, a couple blogging sites where students make blog posts to a collective course site, and also using Hypothesis for collaborative annotation. So really right now my work has been using those working with faculty to use those tools in a couple of classes. But again, they're sort of, right now they've sort of been like one-off kind of assignments in these courses, but not really integrated into a larger the pedagogy of connected learning.
I think one of the points you're bringing up that I think is really interesting, that it is very culturally specific. So what might really take off in one institution might be dead in the water in another, and even how you approach it, I think, needs to be different. I love your description of the listening tour, the year-long listening tour, because it does take a while. And of course, you weren't new to Colgate. You'd been there, teaching there for a bit before you started in this position. And still, you needed to do some listening to figure out what the culture was, what your best strategy would be, it sounds like, how to approach it with the faculty. So you alluded to a couple of things that it sounds like you learned during Open Learning 18. So you mentioned WordPress and Hypothesis. So was that experience of Open Learning 18, was that your first time working with those two tools?
Yes. Also, WordPress, I had never had a blog before. So I was learning WordPress anyways for my job. So this was like the perfect way to learn it for myself. The best way to learn it was to like be required to have a blog for Open Learning. And also Hypothesis, I had never encountered that before. I'd heard of it, but never experimented with it. So WordPress, Hypothesis were the two big ones. Oh, and Twitter. I had never been on Twitter. I think like the first day of my job, I signed up for a Twitter account. And I forgot who I followed to find Open Learning 18. But then Twitter was also like a big, huge takeaway, I think, from Open Learning. Like I had never done Twitter before, and then I had never done like Twitter chats. Is that?
Yes, so, like, we had some Twitter chats. So it was a synchronous time to come together on Twitter and have a conversation.
And using hashtags and for the Open Learning hashtag and all of that. So those three tools were really, had a lasting impact.
That's great to hear. And like you said, it's, when you're new to a technology, it's always easier to learn it. It's more effective to learn it if you've got an application right away.
What was really meaningful, not just the tools, but having the tools integrated into like a course experience, really helped me not just learn the tools, but really begin to understand how it promotes collaboration and networking and all of that. So I think that was what was really effective, was the context in which those tools were being used in Open Learning.
That's been our intention all along. We've shortened the duration over the years, but the intention is still to give people an immersive experience where they're using these tools to connect with each other. So I'm hoping that's what's happening in Open Learning 19. So my last question is just, what was your favorite experience in Open Learning 18 and why?
Well, it was really, this is a hard question because I have a lot of favorite moments. The first being having virtually connected with you and Gardner Campbell through the Open Learning 18, and then meeting you all face to face at the Connected Learning Summit in Boston this past summer, where then you were presenting on Open Learning 18, and then I was in the audience having been a participant. So it was just a very meta moment, I guess. That was
an amazing experience for me too, having you in the audience and sort of fess up to that when we got to the question and answer section. And it was great to have your voice of experience as an Open Learning 18 learner right there in the room. We couldn't have asked for a better moment with that.
But then so that was kind of toward the end of Open Learning, let's say, if it was in 2018, but at the beginning of it, I think a really powerful moment for me was when, I think it was after we read about open educational resources and we had to do a blog post. And I really took my post, and you commented on this article on my blog post, but like I just realized the spirit of openness was something that I really had never encountered before as it relates to pedagogy in my previous academic kind of path through grad school and then teaching. So it was just a huge aha moment for me, and I kind of just spilled it all out into my blog post. And then to be able to publish it immediately to the web, to a network of people that I knew would see my posts, was really powerful for me, because as an academic, I had always been, coming up through, I've got to write my manuscript and it takes forever and it's got to go through this journal and it's like a very closed process. So I just was, I don't know, awestruck by how it was just exciting to like quickly, here's my writing and just publish, and it's out there on the web, and then people started commenting on it immediately, and I shared it with my coworkers. So that was my other favorite moment at the beginning of the experience, was like really getting the thrill of putting my ideas out there, which was made possible through these open networked technologies on the web. So being able to experience that firsthand was really powerful for me.
Yeah, I think you started to use the word empowering. At
Yeah.
least I thought that's where you were going. And I think I had the same kind of experience. You put it out there and then someone comments and that conversation starts happening. And as you said, it's very different from the closed peer-reviewed process.
Mm-hmm.
You know who's commenting on your blog, and there is this openness. I think one of the, as you were talking, I started to think about openness as a value,
mm-hmm.
And how I think those of us who've gravitated to it maybe have started to realize that's one of our values, is openness.
Yeah, definitely.
It sounds like it fits very well with you personally, and then what you're trying to do in your position as well.
Yeah, but as I was saying before, it's been taking, again, almost more than a year to just be able to find like the places and the spaces and the people with whom I can even begin to introduce and talk about these ideas. So it's a very slow process, but
worthwhile.
Hopefully I'll get there. Yes.
Yeah. I think one of the things we're doing in this 2019 iteration of open learning is giving people a little peek into some jobs that involve working in the open.
Mm-hmm.
And yours is one of those. So I've really appreciated that.
I'm happy that you reached out and that I was able to talk about my experiences.